Howdy folks, Justin here, and first of all, I gotta apologize for not getting a video out yesterday. This has been the busiest week of grad school so far. I'm in my third semester. I'm in diagnosis and treatment planning and counseling the culturally diverse, and of course I work 6 days a week and run a YouTube channel and stream and stuff, so I've just been pushing myself too hard. I had to take a night off. But the good news then for you is that we get 2 new card reveals in a single video, and they're both pretty spicy ones. These are both build-around cards that I'm super excited to play with and meme with. So let's get started right away with Torval Extortionist. This was revealed by Dragon Tamer Blade. Longtime YouTube content creator, makes great shit. Highly recommend him. Nice guy. I met him at PAX East last year. Yeah, Torval Extortionist is well, let's bring up the cards in our collection so we can take a look at what this guy does. Because what he does is a lot. 5 Magicka, 7/5, Slay, gain Magicka this turn equal to the slain creature's casting cost. Alright, so first of all, I think we need to put an F in chat for the Highland Lurcher. Because this cat kicks the crap out of this Swamp Thing, right? Even though Swamp Thing by Alan Moore is one of the greatest graphic novel series of all time, Highlander Train got shit on Torval Extortionist. Torval Extortionist is, again, part of this series of cards very targeted towards the meta, because here's what you want to do. Let's say you're playing against Telvanni Conscription, Red Urn Conscription, Tribunal Conscription, whatever, and they go, you know, it's turn 10 or 11. They drop Tullius's Conscription. The board is full of crap. Full of crap. Now say you have the ring and a completed contract. Or you already have one of these cats on the board. Okay? That's going to be 8 Magicka in that lane. 8 Magicka worth of creatures. For you to play Unstoppable Rage on your Extortionist, right? That's going to give you a shitload of Magicka. In fact, if you got it set up right, you could then play Shadow Shift and another Unstoppable Rage, right? Like, that is bonkers. This thing is so fascinating. Like, it's a super relevant Slay ability. It's a super aggressively costed creature. You know, just beating down with this is going to be the right thing to do sometimes. And it's the green Blood Dragon, right? Except, well, Blood Dragon can be defensive or aggressive. This guy is pretty much just aggressive, unless comboed with Unstoppable Rage, in which case it's a killing machine that's defensively holding your position from the evil Telvanni hordes. I just think this card's fascinating, right? Like, there's the obvious thing where you Unstoppable Rage on it, but imagine for a second, if you will, playing this in Dagoth. This is where you get really fun, right? This is where you get ridiculous. Let's say you play an Assassin's Ritual on it. Now it's got Lethal and Ward. Okay? Then you use such fine cards as Archer's Gambit and Quicksilver Crossbow, and you just machine gun down things. Pew, 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 pew. I mean, I guess since it's the cat, it's like mew, 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 right? That occurred to me as being fun. You can generate a shitload of magic that way and you can kill things that are bigger than just, you know, the 2-cost creatures that a conscription deck's going to pull out. But yeah, this card is just absolutely amazingly statted. I mean, compare this to other things you can do for 5 in green, right? Brainy Wolf, very powerful card. Does a little bit of ramping. Cliff Racer, very powerful card, sees a lot of play. But, I mean, other than that, like, what are you really competing with, right? In terms of aggressively statted creatures, it comes in ahead of Cliff Racer. The 5 toughness is huge. This 5 toughness here is absolutely huge. Your Giant Snake sees a little bit of play. Leaf Lurker sees a little bit of play. This is a very proactive yet potentially defensive card that can also ramp you in certain situations. It's kind of remarkable, actually, how interesting this card is. It's the sort of card that's going to punish the shit out of those people who drop stuff in the Shadow Lane all game for no reason, because then, you know, they're not going to be able to trade their guys into it. You know, this is the classic sort of problem that well, you know, it's funny. I'm kind of old school. I was thinking of Archaian Venom Tongue, but I guess the more appropriate card now is Blackwood Distiller. people just swing their guys into it because it makes more sense. Torval Extortionist is massive. It needs to be removed the turn it hits the board. And if you're in a position to, you can just beat down with it. And cards that can fill two roles, you know, a card that can trade well. I mean, it trades with everything that hits on the board before it. Or a card that can, except for ward creatures, I guess, obviously. Or a card that can win you the game just by going face. I mean, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. This is a really fascinating card. It's gonna see a lot of play. It'll probably see play initially in places it doesn't belong necessarily, but I think it's actually strong enough that it could prop up entire other archetypes, right? Like, obviously, Unstoppable Rage Archer is a thing, but Unstoppable Rage Halalu is a deck that's always been like the periphery of things. You know, a couple people brought it to the Masters Series qualifiers. It is an interesting deck, right? And you get to run Duke Venom Dren, which is always a pleasure. This is the sort of card that could help you ramp into these sorts of things. It's a staple in Singleton from now on. There are monk decks out there that try to get to like 18 Magicka on turn 6 or 7 via Brynjolf, Torval Crook, Master of Thieves, and Thieves Den. This is the sort of thing that would fit nicely into that shell where like you have some really expensive cards, some Eclipse Baronesses, some Parthenax, stuff like that, that you're trying to get out way earlier than you should. This is the kind of guy that's going to make that possible. Obviously, giving it lethal is super interesting in Dagoth with Assassin's Ritual. It's just a really cool card. I love it. I love cards that make me want to build new stuff. This card makes me want to try all sorts of stuff. Halalu, Dagoth, Archer, and I gotta be honest, Slay Scout is not off my mind. And I think that's part of the reason they gave the card to DTB to reveal is because he's kind of the Slay Scout guy. It's always been a deck he's really played a lot. And I'm excited to see what he does with it, and I'm super excited to brew with this. There is, of course, the magical fantasy land where you Unstoppable Rage a lane full of creatures that aren't just conscription creatures, and then you play Alduin with having no creatures in your discard pile. If you've never seen Alduin, I don't blame you. It doesn't see any play. Let's get the real good art. That is a 20-cost dragon that destroys the board. So you'll lose your own cat, but he died for a good cause because he's a dragon cultist. So there you go. Let's get to the next card, and this one's really interesting too. This is Destruction Tutor. Destruction Tutor is a really, really interesting one. Action Mage, Action Assassin, these are decks that used to see play. Frequently trying to close the game out in the back of a Lilandril Hex Mage. The problem being, of course, you know, well, twofold, and this solves one of the problems. One of the problems is, even if you have a handful of actions and a Hex Mage on the board, there's a certain magical limitation, and this deck's sort of a glass cannon, so like you're going to fold to aggressive decks relatively quickly. Having a Destruction Tutor on board with the relevant 5 toughness, and then, you know, a Hex Mage on the board as well. I mean, obviously this is... You're just sort of like, you had to hit a perfect storm of things here. But lets you chain through your actions really, really, really quickly. You know, if you look at stuff like Ice Spike, it becomes free, right? Which can be absolutely huge. Ice Spike being a pretty good card in a deck that's trying to kill you with a Hex Mage, turning it into a Lightning Bolt to the face plus a draw card. In terms of damage, for 0 Magicka when you have this guy out, is absolutely nuts. Destruction Tutor is interesting. There was a time, and this is relevant, there was a time when... before all the expansions, when Giant's Battle Mage, back then called Merrick Battle Mage, would run Skilled Blacksmith, because it, you know, sometimes the deck would run a single copy or a couple copies of the blue Shackle item. I can't remember what that card is called off the top of my head, but it would also run Daggerfall Mage. It was just a 2/3 body. 2/3 bodies are totally acceptable. Stat lines for 2-drops in a deck that wants to go big in the mid to late game, like that deck always has as it's evolved. Mace of Encumbrance is the card. And it would, of course, also run, as it usually still does, Sentinel Battle Mace. So it was just small niche advantages, right? A Destruction Tutor is a bigger discount on a, in some ways better, some ways much worse body, that could just be the fuel you need for a control deck. You know, there are... I know I'm the only one who plays these, but I've hit Legend before with creatureless decks that win off the back of Mage's Guild Retreat. They don't have to be creatureless. Like, you could... They would be better if you ran a handful of creatures. I just didn't do it because it was funny. This is the sort of card that could really enable a Mage's Guild Retreat deck. You do have to keep in mind that it's going to eat removal when you're not running very many creatures. But I think that it's a really fascinating card. there's a lot of like forgotten cards that when Action Mage was no longer a thing, sort of just ceased to see play. In particular, one that I think is a pretty reasonable card, Artaeum Savant, which can just really go kind of nuts with the right number of actions. Again, anything that cheapens your actions is super interesting. Also, I got to give this card a shout out for having the reverse ability of my least favorite card in the game, Withered Hand Cultist. That is always fun. Now, I have to do this. So when the Orc came out, the 1-cost 1/1 Last Gasp draw card, I didn't say anything about this because, you know, figured like there's just got to be a certain confluence of like people coming up with the same ideas. I was like, oh, that's totally reasonable. That could totally happen. Because I proposed the exact same card, except it was a 2/2 for 2 that Last Gasp drew a card in purple a long time ago. And I was just like, oh, this is a really cool idea. And so I was super excited to get to reveal the card and to see it in action. Now that said, I want to show you a custom card I posted not long ago. Sorry about that. I know it's kind of an ongoing joke that my phone is always beeping during videos. I'll go ahead and toss that over there. But yeah, I have to show you this because this is a custom card I posted just recently. We're off the track of like relevant information. Destruction Tutor is a good card, by the way. It's more of a build around than anything else. I posted this card not too long ago. I just want to point this out. I'm now 2 out of like 6 or whatever for custom cards being turned into better versions, more you know. Look, I'm not a card designer. I'm a fucking therapist, but like being turned into cards for this set. Like this is a really exciting set. You know, previously the Madhouse collection was my favorite set. Morrowind was my favorite brewing season, but I really think that this is ramping up to be one of the most interesting sets we've ever had. And the brewing season immediately after its release could be my new favorite meta. Really kind of depends on what else we see, but so far they've really been hitting these notes. The part about this custom card that really gets me, though, to be honest with you, is the name. Alteration Tutor, Destruction Tutor. I have to say, my name makes more sense. And by the way, Ritualist was a keyword I made up. It says when you play an action, return this creature to your hand. So it was a limited use kind of thing, which explains the more effectively costed body. But anyway, that's where we're at. Destruction Tutor is a good card. Destruction Tutor could see play in a lot of shells. I think mid-range Mage is a deck that might be able to get some mileage out of that. I think you could run a single copy in a Tribunal deck, kind of like they run a single copy right now of the Life Gain guy. I know my custom card's still on the board. I'll get that off. They run a single copy of Ebonheart Oracle a lot of the time. In certain situations, Ebonheart Oracle is definitely going to be better, but in certain situations, Destruction Tutor is going to be better. So take that into consideration when building your next control deck. It's a fascinating card. It is not as good as Withered Hand Cultist. It is not a card that you're going to play in every control deck that could afford the tempo loss of playing a 3/5 body for 5. What it is, though, is the sort of card that makes people want to brew new stuff. I mean, the set is just full of stuff like that. I'm super excited to give it a go, and I'll definitely be doing some stuff with it. I even think action, like Chanter Monk, right? Like, consider Chanter Monk, right? You got Chanter of Akatosh, and you have a really powerful shout in the form of Call of Valor that sees virtually no play. If it costs 1, is it worth it? I mean, it is if you also have a Chanter on the board. Pull a 1-drop in that case because of the way the discounts stack with cards. But that's fine because you grab yourself an Ungolem for pretty tremendous value in that case. It's just something interesting. I'm sorry, I said Monk because I was looking at my custom card. Wow, what I meant was Mage, in which case it's not pulling Ungolem. It's pulling Mudcrab Merchant, so my bad. I was all confused about the colors. Either way, I'm a little overloaded by how much there is to do. I haven't been much on the internet much the last couple of days because I've been so busy. We are so close, guys. Frostspark is almost here, and I cannot wait to hop onto the ladder with all these cards and see you there. I'll keep making videos. We have a special reveal. We're gonna have so I guess this is I should point this out now. The next card that's going to be revealed is going to be revealed in the Fun and Interactive podcast tomorrow, Saturday the 27th at 10:30 Eastern Time PM. That's on Charmer's Twitch channel. That's the podcast he and I do every week, and we will be revealing the next card. So I will see you there. I'm just a little all over the place because this is so fucking cool. I love spoiler season, man.